Do 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 do. La 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 da da. Okay, let's dive right in. Let's dive right in. Ricky, do we have one of those? Can we go to the light switch and flick it on and flick it off? Or no.
We could do that. We could do the whole clapping thing. Hey guys, we're gonna get back and get started. So if you guys want to come in, take a seat. Let's go, Fred. Yeah, you do that.
Hello, it's me again. All right, so I promise. Third and final presentation, and then if you need to hear any more, we'll be out at the resource table. This is my second stint with the Comptroller's Office, formerly the Auditor's Office, and I had to come to grips with the fact in my last time I was here that I was the sound of bad news. That every time you heard me, I needed something, something was wrong, something was changing, and so today we're doing something completely different. Today, what I'm hoping this presentation is good news. 30 minutes, easy, in and out, but it ultimately ends with something easier than what we currently have. Now, SEA1 has dominated the conversation, and as it should. Changes to the tax and billing system, changes to the tax billing, changes to your revenue sources, changes to your budgeting. We should be talking about Senate Enrolled Act 1, but it's not the only thing that was passed last year. I'd like to talk about the changes in House Enrolled Act 1392. Promise we won't spend too much time talking about legislative languages, but I do want to talk about what changed, what didn't change, and how hopefully this you'll see this piece of legislation as good news. So let us dive right in. We're going to talk about FIT and CVET. Now, to do that, we need to talk about history, and so whether we want to do once upon a time or in a galaxy long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, we need to sort of set the history of what FIT and CVET were, so that we can talk about the changes we're going to see in the upcoming cycle. It's important for me to note that the changes we're looking at were effective July 1st. So what we did in the spring was right. We did it the exact way we're supposed to, but we are coming up on a change for this upcoming settlement cycle that we need to be aware of. All right, so let's start with the financial institution tax. Let's talk about an introduction to FIT. I feel like this year, more than any other year in the past, it's easy to have the conversation about how much the property tax cycle can evolve, how it can change from one year to the next. If we go back far enough, there was a time when financial institutions used to pay a tax directly to the county. They weren't sort of a traditional part of the property tax bill cycle. There was a revenue source that financial institutions were paying. And in '89, they decided that the state decided they were going to move away from that one. But because they didn't want to take a revenue source away from the current recipients, they instituted this new financial institution tax. Now, the question was, the goal was to make sure that people who were relying on this money were not harmed. So there was a calculation that was done. Were you making more money under the old calculation, or were you making more money under the new calculation? If you were making more money, or if the taxes generated under the new process were higher, you would not qualify for the financial institution tax distribution. If you were losing out on, revenue, you would be given the difference. You'd be given the difference. And if you did not have a financial institution that was paying this back in '89, you would never become a recipient of this new financial institution tax. So the state of Indiana incorporates this new change and releases annually a report that would show that. How much were you getting before? How much are you getting currently? And what is labeled guaranteed distribution of what your portion of the financial institution tax would ultimately end up being. That last number, that bottom number, helped to determine how much of the annual distribution you would receive. That makes more sense with a picture. And so this is Decatur, this is the city of Decatur in Adams County. What we're looking at is how much their financial institutions were paying Decatur, and that's this $32,000 figure. When that was repealed, we can see that portion in the middle is the calculation that was used to identify, well, under the new law, if the banks are what they were previously calculating under, if they were instead just part of the tax bill, how much would be generated, and that's what the number referenced, this $6,592. So under the old method, Decatur was getting $32,000. Under the new calculation, they were getting $6,500. So their guaranteed distribution amount was that difference. They are locked into the for the FIT. The amount that was tied to Decatur would have been the $25,000 figure. For every unit in the state, the Department of Local Government Finance would do this calculation year over year to set their guaranteed distribution amounts. In 2012, the law changed, finalized the figures. So part of the reason why we're looking at the 2012 version, these are the final numbers that have been used every year since then that we put into the calculation. So I suspect, one of the questions we get about the financial institution tax is, I have a bank, how come I'm not getting this? Well, it's not about what you have now, it's about what you had in 1989 compared to what the change that took place was. Okay, so this part has not changed. So at the state level, every year, at the beginning of the fiscal year, the comptroller's office works with the Department of Revenue to identify how much revenue had been collected, and 40% of that revenue is available for distribution. So we identify who the recipients are, we identify how much money is available, 40% goes into the calculation, we post the reports, and we do semi-annual distributions. And so this is what our report had historically looked like. We've got a listing of all of our units. About halfway down, we can see Decatur, their 2012 guaranteed distribution amount, like we saw in that other report for $25,555. That's the proportion they're going to receive, and we are going to split that distribution into evenly between what they're going to get in the fall and then what they're going to get into the next spring. That part has not changed. So for Decatur, they are 25,000 of this of the total pie. So whatever percentage that references, while the column is labeled guaranteed distribution, that's not the distribution amount they're ultimately ended up receiving. Because there was additional revenue, because there was more revenue, instead of getting that 25,000, what they're getting is that proportion that represents. So for this year, Decatur got 26. If revenue had gotten down, maybe they would have gotten 24, which then sort of leads to this slide. The orange bar, the top line, shows how much revenue is available. That bottom line is our 40%. So while the Decatur amount has not changed, their 25,000, the size of the pie has fluctuated from year to year, which means they could end up receiving more of a FIT or less of a FIT distribution. So far, so good? Okay. None of that has changed. We'll put a pin in FIT and let's talk about CVET. So, up until 2000, commercial vehicles were classified as personal property and included within each unit's tax base. In 2000, those vehicles left the tax base and instead are, whether it's I believe it's through the Department of Revenue, they are, as they are registering the vehicles, they are paying the tax at the state level. So they've come out of the local tax base, but they're still generating tax revenue, right? And so, same as with the financial institution tax, the idea was to try to mitigate any impact to a local level. So calculation was done and finalized in 2008 that identified how much personal property used to be included in your tax base. that will be your portion of the state collected commercial vehicle revenue. So for CVET, on a calendar year basis, what we're looking back is in the prior calendar year, how much was collected, and then a proportional allocation is done using those 2008 figures. With FIT, it's 40% of the collections. With CVET, 100% of the collection amounts are going to be remitted to the locals. None of this has changed so far. For the comptroller's office, we'll put together a report like this one, which will list out every single unit in the state and their proportion that they're going to end up receiving in their county. Separated by unit, separated for the townships by their civil funds and their fire funds. The distribution ultimately gets split in half. Half gets sent out in the spring, half of it gets sent out in the fall. CVET is a little bit more, has not fluctuated as much as the financial institutions tax has. So it's been a relatively a figure, the distributions have not fluctuated much year over year. Okay. So that's the state's role in it, collecting the money, producing the calculation, distributing it semi-annually. So let's talk about step 2. In step 2, we start looking at how the counties deal with the distributions they've received from the state. So for both FIT and CVET both, after the state has distributed to you, and after we've produced these reports, you have a separate set of calculations that you are working on. You take that total, and then instead of distributing it, you are breaking it into a fund level distribution using the certified rates and sending those out the door. So the state told you how much to send, and you have to then go through a calculation to break that out further. Now, for townships, that means you're spreading it across multiple tax bases. So you have to figure out which funds are tied to which units. That was the process. So that's how it worked through June 30th of 2025. So let's talk about what's changed. Okay. So what 1392 is designed to do is streamline this process, and we can get it down to 2 words. This whole presentation boils down to like lit. The state will still do the same calculations that we have always performed. We'll break it down on the individual unit levels. We will provide you a report that shows here's how much was collected. Here's each recipient's individual distribution amount. Step 2, you send that money out the door. Like lit. No more individual unit fund, no more separate calculations. The state doesn't do a set of calculations. You get those numbers and do another set of calculations. You just have to pass the dollars amount. So then what do you do with that money? And this one, Ricky has already got her hand up. So I am a unit, or the county is going to receive a portion, or the school corporation or the city, and they're going to ask, well, what do I get to do with it? Well, what the code is showing here, the one code citation we have, the local units will decide where they're going to use that money, right? What fund they're going to deposit it into. So instead of the calculation telling you have to put $9 into your general fund and $3 into township assistance, you will be handed $12 and you will decide where it's going. So same recipients, same calculation, same total amounts, just one less calculation for the county auditor to perform. Like lit, you are just passing it on to the next group. They will decide where it's going. Ricky, you want to jump in? You do.
Why do I?
The limitations on where they deposit the money.
Oh, Stacy is going to talk about that in our next presentation.
Got it. So Board of Accounts will expand on what on their expectations for how the money is deposited. But that's the whole presentation, right? That's the extent of it. There's one less calculation that the county auditors have to perform. Same recipients, same timetable, same revenue sources, same eligibility, one less calculation for the auditor. I will steal a little bit of the thunder from DLGF. Historically, as part of the DCAF reporting, I want to be careful to differentiate reporting to DLGF from reporting to the local units. But historically, when reporting to DLGF, the counties would report how much at a fund level they're distributing to each unit. so that when it comes time to work the budgets, DLGF has that data. Since the locals will be deciding what funds to put it into, the county auditor no longer has fund level information to report. Earlier this year, we provided DLGF with those totals, the amount that will be distributed, so they already have what they need. DLGF is in the process of releasing a memo explaining that fit and CVET level reporting will no longer be done during that DCAF upload. You'll still do examination of records, you'll still do property tax, you'll still do excise, but fit and CVET are going to start to be phased out of that report. Okay. All right. So let's look at resources. On our website, we released a memo 3 months ago that explained this change was coming, contains all these code citations, explains what changes we are going to. This is just our opportunity to talk about this with the group. On our website currently, while we are scheduled to do that distribution next month, you can already find the new versions of the FIT and CVET forms that have replaced the old ones that we used to post. CVET, the numbers should, for CVET, because it's starting mid-cycle, the totals are the same, but the format's going to be different for the second part of the cycle. Would ask everybody to go out to the website, get the new form. For FIT, this is the beginning of the new fiscal year. This is the beginning of the new cycle. So these will be the forms that you'll use both this fall and next spring. And so let's look at the difference between those, starting with the CVET report. So like we do with a lot of our spreadsheets, it has a drop-down box. So all you have to do is select your county. It will populate all the information that you need. And here we have that same listing of recipients. On the left side, we're listing every unit. The next 3 columns are the calendar year distribution separated for townships for both their civil portion and their fire portion, right? They're going to get this amount, but we're still breaking it out so that they can see that there are 2 components of it if that is necessary for them. The next 3 columns let you know how much they're getting in the spring. Last 3 columns, how much they're getting in the fall. So we're still presenting the same information, same recipients. You can see that we haven't changed the calculation, just a new format that you'll see when you go out to our website. Now, for FIT, we went a slightly different route. Same idea, same calculations, same numbers. But to answer that question of why didn't I get a distribution, for the new FIT reports, we built these off the 2025 backbone. So this is every unit that had a certified budget order with the Department of Local Government Finance is now listed. And so Blue Creek Township is not receiving a distribution, but instead of them being blank, instead of them being left off the report, they're being stated at 0 instead of omitted from the report. So haven't changed the calc, but if you see more units sort of presented on the form, we wanted to make sure that everyone itself was listed. Now, we'll point to this column, this third column, that again is a little bit on the tiny side. There's a reference to an adjusted amount, and for communities like Clark County, where under the old configuration, there's a unit that no longer exists, we've included this adjustment column so we can see you may not have been an original recipient, but you are receiving your distribution because we've adjusted the amount of the original distribution. Nope, that didn't make sense. Let's try it again. There was a school corporation that split into 2 school corporations. The old school corporation is the one that's listed on that 2012 report, but because they no longer exist, we've separated into the 2 new school corporations that exist. So while they won't have a 2012 guaranteed amount, we did list them out in the adjusted column so that they're still getting the benefit of what was there, but they exist as a standalone recipient. If you have activity in the adjustment, that's what we were trying to do. Simulate where the money was currently going based on the difference between what we knew in 2012 and what we know today. Okay. So that's it. 1392, 1 less calculation. Same recipients, same dollar amounts. People are still getting their same totals. You just don't have to do that fund level calculation before you send it out the door. And we'll start the process of phasing it out of the off the DLGF reporting. One less thing. 2 hands went up at the... Ricky, questions in the front.
I'm coming.
I don't know how she runs in heels, but
Okay.
She makes it look so easy.
I am at about 4,500 steps, so. Two. Hey, Fred.
Hey,
It has been continuously said that the unit gets to decide, they get to decide who gets it. Who specifically gets to decide? Do we get to just put it into the general fund or the rainy day, or do we have to get permission from somebody? Is it a council decision?
That is a state board of accounts thing, and we're going to be talking about it next.
That's what I thought.
My question is, since it's not broke out now, when we send it out to them, whether it's general fire or whatever, do we still have to do Form 22s? Because all you would have on there was an amount, you wouldn't have.
yeah.
The Form 22 was not really designed for the fit and the CBIT, okay? You guys used it because it was easier, but we are going to talk about that too, correct? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I just don't want to steal Stacy's thunder, guys. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm coming.
But while she works that way, what we're hoping is that memo that's posted on our web, so we expect that you're going to get questions. You've always broken this down in the past. Why did you stop breaking it? Please tell me what funds I have to put it into. Though we're hoping that the guidance on the comptroller's website can be used so that you can show them law changed. I'm distributing your total. Here's your same calculation, but here's the guidance that's available so that they can use it. Right? So the spreadsheet will tell you how much they're getting. Hopefully the memo will help to sort of bridge that gap, because we're presenting to you, but we haven't necessarily got in front of the school corporations or the libraries. They might still be looking for you to do it the same way that you did it this spring and the way that we had done it for the last 15 years. Okay.
You said that it's all going to be deposited.
I'm sorry, say that again? Yes. But yeah, absolutely. And then when they start saying, well, why have you changed this? In the past, you would break it down into fund level. The memo that's on the comptroller's website that explains that this is a statutory change, and here's the new guidance that you've received. And we've given the same presentation to cities and towns, so they've got a bit of a leg up. They are expecting this change in December, but haven't got in front of townships or school corporations to get the message across.
No, but we have.
Oh.
So we've told them what they need to do, that you'll hear next.
Okay, you said that all the money would be deposited into one fund, but on this spreadsheet, you still have fire broke out. So fire will stay broken out?
Went back and forth on that one. It is their total, but in okay. I went back and forth on that one. It's the total is going to the unit, but I was thinking about fire territories where they may have a portion of their fit that they had pledged to a fire department. If we added them together, they wouldn't know which piece was which. So listed them both so they could see here's the civil one and here's the fire one in case they wanted to do something with the fire version versus the civil. From your perspective, you are still sending them the total amount that's coming in. But if they wanted to know how much historically was civil versus how much historically was fire, the spreadsheet has that built right into it.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Oh. Ricky, we got one on the other side.
Okay. Hi. Hand, hi. Where am I going? Okay.
So on that fire protection, like they were talking about, or she just mentioned, so the township, they would get the lump sum.
Yes.
But it would be listed out there how much they have historically given to the fire protection district so that they can distribute that if they, at their discretion.
So this is how we used to present it,
Okay.
right? The county's listed once, but we had Monroe Township on there twice. So we just took that same concept and listed it on the new version. So while they're getting the same total, if they historically wanted to know, I gave some part of this pie to one group and this to another one, they have the same level of detail they had historically had, even though the change is taking place.
Okay.
So
All right.
just mirroring it, again, went back and forth. It's an easier calculation if we just add the two together, but was worried that the first question would be, I'd like to split this. Tell me how to split it between the two. So we just figured we do a little bit more lifting on the front end so it's there if they want it. If they don't, we're going right to the new language.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But they're only going to provide the total to the unit. They wouldn't provide like the detail unless it's asked for?
Correct.
Okay.
But if they had a question, they know how to,
Yes.
they had to find.
I just wanted to clarify
Yes.
that. Did you have a question?
So on figuring out, okay, we have a township that used to have a bank in it. And they get FIT money, but the bank's no longer there.
Correct.
And they'll continue to get it forever? Wow, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So there are communities that absolutely do no longer have a finance institution, but it's frozen in time, right? The 89 configuration, the 2012 calculation, that's what's driving it. So there are also communities that didn't have a bank in 89 and have 50,000 banks now. They won't qualify until they change that part of the statute. Right now, we focused on the calculation piece, not the concept piece. Okay, Ricky, I think I'm at my time.
I think you are. Thank you so much, Fred.
Got it. Thanks, everybody.